We'll start with, as usual, our meme of the week. I don't know if you had time to see it this week.
I
Sorry,
did. I did. So great.
sorry for everyone who went with Dominic Calvert-Lewin 1 week early. Harsh, harsh. Um, he went off injured 15 minutes in. Doesn't look like he's
Yeah.
gonna feature in the double game
Make
week.
the double game week. Yeah. People should have at least expected some more heartbreak from Calvert-Lewin this season. I mean, it's been so painful for anyone that's owned him, besides maybe for like a couple of games early in the season. But he's adding more pain to the managers that went a little bit early there. Worked out. But I mean, for the guys that went GI instead, they got a free penalty that Calvert-Lewin would have taken potentially, and I mean, I think with some bonus as well there. So those guys actually did end up benefiting from Calvert-Lewin going off. Like I've seen a couple of people willing to overinvest in this double game week, and I haven't been personally too fond of it because I mean Everton have been still hit and miss, right? Even though it's under Moyes, they've got 2 wins in a row. I still don't trust them, to be honest.
You're saying that, but I'm putting all my all my chips in into this double game week. I might have six players. Oh, not six players, five
That's
players
amazing.
and a manager. So we'll see
Oh
from there.
wow.
Yeah,
Oh wow.
we'll get into that. Let me go into Game Week 23 and get that out the way. So I got my team on the board now, and 54 points. Ironically, we both got 54. Don't really want to talk too much about it other than what's coming up in Game Week 24. So I've already made my one transfer. I have another two in the bank. I've taken out João Pedro for NDI for this game week. So, and then coming
Okay.
into my team, you'll notice on my bench I got Pickford, Mikalenko. They're both coming in with
Yeah.
Konate, um, and then my Forest defender, Bruno Fernandes, Gordon, Palmer, Salah, who's captain, Mateta, and Isak all start as well. The only thing is, I might make another transfer. I might take Fernandez out and bring in Brian Bremo. That we're going to talk about. But the other
Yes.
thing I might do with my third, I guess I don't even need that transfer, but I don't want to bring in another. I have three Everton assets. I can't bring in Moyes.
Yes.
I don't intend to bring in Moyes, and I'll talk about that when we talk about the assistant managership. I might bring in Slot because I don't want to bring in Gakpo for one game week and then sell him the next game week. And in the end, I plan to bring him in and sell him in the
But
future.
I
So
think Gakpo can be a hold for a few weeks. He seems rather nailed in that Liverpool starting lineup. So I mean that was my thinking to say that he'll probably play a few games for me, and then probably once the blank game week comes in, if Liverpool go through in the Carabao Cup, he's probably a sell for that week and then just free up some funds for, or rather free up that spot to potentially go back to Chris Wood at some point.
I just don't want to go too heavy on Liverpool.
I
Uh,
get you, yeah.
and I feel like I can use that
Yeah, then
funds
this
in
the
the
fixtures are
midfield.
not easy, right?
Yeah,
Inform Bournemouth and a reasonably informed Everton team as well. So I get it. I think the Everton one's a little bit better because Leicester still look poor. As much as they beat Spurs, they still didn't look great in that game either.
let's get into your team.
Mine felt a bit of a mixed bag. So initially, my transfer I wanted to do Gakpo early, and I mean, with the points he scored inevitably was very disappointing. So my plan was Wood to Gakpo before the deadline. But I mean, holding Chris Wood for 1 week, I just felt bad taking him out twice. Don't ask me why I felt bad. It didn't actually make sense. I should actually just burn the transfer because it would have been so much worth it. But I ended up effectively rolling. I wasn't too unhappy. Besides the fact that my bench outscored almost everyone else in my bloody team, so that was a little bit painful. So I mean, Semenyo, I mean, it was between Semenyo and Rogers. Rogers West Ham, Semenyo versus Nottingham Forest. I mean, I didn't really expect
Yeah,
Bournemouth to
same. I
to
wouldn't have.
to slap them silly. Mikalenko against Brighton didn't seem like the greatest move, and I said Robertson with his assist potential was probably a better option. Greaves was never going to play,
Yeah,
even though they got slapped up by Liverpool. I mean, he was never effectively going to play for me. That goal actually was so great for me because I think Trent was on bonus, Konate was on
yeah,
bonus the entire time, and then once that goal went in, all the forwards got the bonus instead. So it worked out quite well for me because I had Alisson. So as much as I lost, other people did lose more. So
yeah.
so I was quite grateful for that. But going into the next game week, I've also made one transfer already. I've done Wood to Gakpo already. I
Okay.
considered doing Mateta and keeping Wood instead, but I think Mateta's fixtures are quite decent up until game week 29. So I'm sticking with him for a little bit longer. Very likely either Gakpo or Mateta will very likely change to Chris Wood over the next few weeks. Probably once the fixtures do turn there as well. also considering the Fernandes to Mbeumo move. I mean, especially with Mbeumo's game this past week, and I mean, look, Spurs effectively look like a relegation team at this point in time. So I think they've got Spurs and a couple of decent fixtures coming on. So I think it's actually worth moving early to him now, and that's kind of my plans. I think for the next game week, I do want to look to get rid of Robinson at some point in time, but I've got a probably longer term plan that one out because I think Fulham's fixtures are starting to turn a little bit to the downside.
Last question for this thing. How many transfers do you have left?
I still have two transfers left, I think.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
I
you
have a
got
couple
you got
left. So
room to
that's why
play.
even if I do the one more transfer, I've still got one more transfer in the bag. So I've racked it up to three this past week. So I should be reasonably comfortable if I want to make extra moves. Like for example, take a punt on Ndiaye or someone like that.
Hey, let's round off game week 23 with looking at some of the results. One of the biggest surprises, Bournemouth Forest. Forest looked unbelievable
No,
defensively,
terrible. Yeah.
but
And
just
then to concede five to Bournemouth was absolutely shocking.
yeah. But Bournemouth, in all fairness, are looking very good, and
Mm.
they always looked dangerous. They weren't getting as much goals. With Otara just had a game to remember, I guess. Hat trick.
Yeah. And the surprising part about the result is that they've got like 11 injuries at the
That's
moment,
the
and they're
thing, yeah.
slowly getting a couple of players back. But I mean, I guess they've got the advantage. They only effectively play one game a week, so to keep that settled starting lineup every single week's actually doing quite well for them. So I mean, they are looking solid defensively. They don't look like they're conceding goals. Going forward, they look like they've got goals, especially because you think once their striker got injured, they'd score less goals, but they're actually starting to score more goals now with Utara up top.
Did you did you catch the City Chelsea game? Any
I
thoughts on
did.
that?
I watched almost the whole thing. Chelsea. I'm unsure, especially after the start there. I mean, Kusanov had a bit of a shocker at the start, but I think City clicked into gear and they're looking like a dangerous team again. In the forward lines, they're looking much better. Mamouche looked really good. I mean, on
Yeah.
his debut as well, he caused a lot of problems, and he seems to be taking a bit of the strain away from Haaland because it looks like City haven't had someone run beyond Haaland in a long time. Where Mamouche is the first person that I'm seeing in a while that's actually running past him. Alvarez used to do it, and I think since he's been gone, there's actually been no other option for them. Where Doku likes the ball into feet, Savinho probably likes the ball into feet. They don't run past Haaland, and this guy looks like he's doing that. I mean, they got to rest KDB effectively in the week to play Mamouche instead, so they look like they've got options. Their midfield is looking a little bit settled now because Kovacic, Gundogan playing consistent games. Foden looks like he's playing quite well as well. Defensively, I guess there's still gaps, but I mean, Kyle Walker's left the club finally, so I think it's a good omen for them as well because he's been their liability, I guess, for a while now. And Mateus Nunes as right back has been exceptional since he's popped in there.
Spurs Leicester. Before we get into to what happened, I didn't catch the game, but shout out
Yeah,
to Razine who brought in Richarlison against everybody's advice and
Richarlison.
got a goal.
But I mean, to
So
be honest, a five pointer was quite disappointing, right?
yeah,
Even after that, because he got taken off before 60 minutes. The biggest thing we were saying that he's not guaranteed minutes. He's still not fit enough to be
yeah.
playing. He's playing through. He's
Did
playing carrying a knock as well. So it's still a very tough what's it called player to be bringing in, especially with the other options available for the double game week.
but what happened to Spurs and was it more Spurs or more Leicester that
I
surprised
think
you?
I think they ran out of steam. I think after the first half, like the first half, they I mean the first 20 minutes Leicester were dominating the game. Spurs worked their way back into the game, got the goal, went into halftime, came out in the second half, looked like they were still in the changing room until the two goals went in. I mean, as much as they were creating chances afterwards, that missing because after Richarlison went off, there was effectively no central threat from them any longer. So I think the players are just tired.
Looking at the team of the week, Bournemouth players galore. I think the only player we both had was Isak mutually. We got
Yeah.
like our rank got
And the
killed.
one surprise, the man who's returned to the team of the week was Haaland, right?
Yeah,
That was a surprising one. I mean, he's been getting returns now consistently, I think like 3 weeks in a row now. So I wonder if people are contemplating going back because a lot of the people that stuck with him for a long time over the past few weeks have started getting them out of their teams, and now he's actually starting to perform. So I wonder if he's going to be because he's effectively now a differential at his ownership now, right? if people were to bring him in. But I mean, what do you sacrifice in your team to get Haaland back? And that's going to be the interesting conversation.
But I think it makes fantasy so much better now that the Haaland shift has changed, so that people who have held on can see rewards, but they've also have held him so long that they've seen their rank really fall.
But do you actually think maybe, and I mean, with Chelsea in the form that they're in at the moment, sacrificing a Palmer for a Haaland might be worth it if the fixtures do change a little bit.
The problem is Chelsea are going into a great run of fixtures in a few
Yeah, they
weeks' time.
are.
That's the problem.
Mm. But
So
City as well, right? So I mean, it's going to be you might have a decision because I think after the difficult run now, they've got an easy run up until the end of the season. And
mm,
if you don't pick Haaland from City, who's your other option? I'll probably take a peek at Foden at some point, and Marmoush seems like quite a decent option as
punt,
well.
yeah.
So between those two, if they can maintain form, they probably you can. I think you could cover City with those players, but I don't know. Maybe the Haaland, Salah, Palmer team returns.
There's
There's enough
no
cheap
plain sailing.
midfielders and strikers to cover, I think,
That's
in
the
the in
thing,
the
yeah.
coming weeks as
That's
well.
the thing.
So I think they are.
There's really a lot to consider, and one
Mm,
of the new things now, just to add turmoil to all our thoughts, is this system manager chip. So we can get into the
yeah,
system manager chip. Let's take a look at it. I'll just quickly talk about some of the rules. Like I'm sure everybody knows by now, but it's a chip. Once you play it, you can't play any of the other chip. Managers come in out of your budget, so you got to keep 0.5 to 1.5 depending on the manager you want. You can sub them out in between the game weeks, but if it will take up a transfer, and you got to have space for them. You can't have more than three players or squad members from the same squad. And
yeah,
point scoring is also a bit interesting. Um, 6 points per win, 3 points per draw, 1 point per goal, 2 points per clean sheet, and bonus if the opponent is five places higher. You get an extra 10 points, and then for the
massive.
win, an extra 5 points per draw. So I just want to get clarity on this because I'm reading this and I'm a bit confused. Um, so say Moyes plays slot, Everton against Liverpool. Everton win
Yes,
1-0.
yes,
Effectively, Moyes is getting 6 points for the win. He's getting
yes,
1 point for the goal. He's getting two
yes,
points for the clean sheet. So that's nine
yes,
points already. Then he's getting
yes.
an extra 10 points.
Correct.
So he's getting 19 points.
He's getting 19 points for that win.
That's insane.
That is insane. It is
Yeah.
big. That's what I'm saying. You gotta try and find, and that's why I want to try and keep mine for much later in the season because I want the relegation battle to be tight, and I want to be able to pick managers towards the bottom that are playing teams in the middle who have nothing to play for any longer.
Makes sense.
So
It's
like
actually a
for
very good point.
example, teams playing against like for example, if Fulham are sitting 10th, for example, and can't get into Europe, for example, or Palace are around there, and I've got Ipswich who are fighting for relegation and they still have a chance to stay up. I mean, those kind of fixtures will be amazing because you know those teams will push for the wins there. And I mean, as much as they might concede or not get the clean sheet and the likes, that extra 10 points per win is ridiculous. Even 5 points if they get a draw, to be honest, just to stay up. It makes such a difference in the overall result. You can score massive amount of points.
That's actually a smart strategy. And if we look at last season with Crystal Palace, that's exactly what happened. I saw
Mm,
a stat from FPL Focal. He posted that Glasner would have gotten 69 points in a run of three fixtures last season had this been in effect.
that's insane.
69
That
points
is
is
wild.
ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Because
wins you the
I mean,
mini league.
even looking at us, yeah, even I mean looking at a Spurs or United, if because they're sitting so low in the league at the moment, if they're playing teams that, I mean, say Spurs get a few of their players back and their first team is fit again, on Postecoglou, if he's playing, for example, your Fulhams, your Bournemouth, and your Forest, for example, around that time, one of those teams, and he gets a win against them. I mean, those points are ridiculous. Where if, even United, for example, Amorim say United starts stringing some results together, because you can trust those managers a little bit more than you can probably the lower team because you know the
Yeah.
quality of squad that they have. But I still think like the like a Liam Delap going crazy towards the end of the season to get Ipswich some wins to keep them up will be insane. Or what a story. Or it
Yeah.
could flop miserably and they can lose all three games and you end up with 10 points at the end in total over 3 game weeks.
So I'm taking you not playing your manager chip this week.
No, I'm not. I'm going for the triple captain mainly because it's one of the chips that I actually dislike the most. I actually
Okay.
don't like triple captain because it never really works out for me. So I'm trying to go in this phase. My only worry is Salah's form at the moment is quite disappointing. But I'm going to take the risk. I might punt Gakpo because he's actually the form player for Liverpool at the moment.
It's
I
just the
actually want to punt
minutes. He
Gakpo as
comes
my triple
off
captain.
between
Yeah,
60 and 70.
100%. But I want to potentially punt him because his combination with Trent is actually exciting me more than anything else because he's at the back post when Trent is swinging the ball in more than actually the guys in the middle. And without Jota there, I think he'll win a few headers, get a few goals at that back post. So he's a consideration, and he's shooting way more as well. Where I think teams are trying to muck Salah out of the game and giving him much more space to actually cause havoc. So, but I'll probably just take the safe approach and play it on Salah because you'll get some returns rather than nothing. And I mean, if I get 5 points from Salah in total times three, I'll just be depressed because that's what happened with Haaland last season.
Do you think Gakpo is essential this double game week? Based on what you're saying.
I considered, so I had the option of going double Liverpool defense or double Liverpool attack. I went for the double Liverpool attack because I still think they're scoring an unreasonable amount of goals. Jota is sidelined. Darwin doesn't look like he has the trust of the manager as much, and looks like he'll be playing. Darwin will be playing a lot of the cup games and the likes as well.
Hmm.
So I think Gakpo with his rest, and I think he's in the form of his since his time at Liverpool. I think he's in his best form at the moment. So I actually think he's quite essential, especially after his 16 pointer. I think a lot of people will be going for him
It's an interesting point. For me, I might play the system manager chip and might leave out Gakpo. So I have the option to take out Mateta for
to go
Gakpo.
Mateta to
Yeah.
Gakpo. Yeah,
And to then just get in Bremer for Bruno Fernandes, and that completes my team. No, I
yeah.
still got 1.5 in the bank. I can still bring in slot. Actually can't because I have too
Mm.
many Liverpool players, but I can bring in another manager. Um, I just want like I'm thinking to play the system manager now because I feel like playing the system manager in a double game week with another two fixtures. So effectively, you're getting four fixtures brings a
Yeah.
lot. It is a big thing because if that's a normal win for Slot, say they win the next four games, which is possible. They are playing City in the last game, but
Yes.
say they win all four games. I mean, that's 6 points for a win, and they're going to have to get a goal, so that's at least one more point. And if they get only one more
Yeah.
point, that means that's another
And
two
Liverpool
per
don't score
fixture.
one, right? And
Yeah.
Liverpool barely score one, to be honest. So, I mean, to be honest, I feel like they've been scoring three almost every single game, besides when they play against Forest.
Yeah. And if you actually take into effect, if you get 6 points and 6 points, effectively, like it's still not the extra 10 points, but
It isn't, yeah.
yeah, it's still a big chunk of it. So I feel like it's one of the safest things to do.
Mm.
I think
I, I
Liverpool are the
think I think
best
there will be
to.
double game weeks towards the end of the season, and I want to try and focus on double game weeks with teams that are a little bit more lower down. So
Yeah, because the other thing
hopefully
is
teams have some decent cup runs.
Bournemouth are in form, and
Mm.
coming up against that, you don't like. I think the system manager, the fixtures aren't the best. Bournemouth and City are really looking tough at this point.
Correct.
Just want to say also
I think
to those who want to do their double game week on Moyes, because I've seen it been talked about. I would not do that, mainly because from the four games, like the only reason to punt Moyes is for the
mm,
bonus points, and from the four games, technically as it stands, United are not far enough away
they
from
all
it.
they're all
Yeah,
around them. All the teams
so
are around them, which is
so
unfortunate.
it's only Liverpool. So you're banking on them
Yeah.
beating the league leaders at this point, which is probably the worst
Mm.
gamble to take.
Yeah, it's not an ideal play at the moment. I wouldn't take the risk now because the fixtures look difficult.
The
And
question,
I mean,
yeah,
I don't think you stand enough to gain with a team so low in the table. Say they were playing three mid-table teams, and they were most of those, at least three of the teams were 5 places higher, then I might say go for it. But I think it's you don't get value out of it. Rather go slot at
yeah,
that difference.
at this point,
Unless you don't
yeah.
have the funds,
Then
then
wait,
some people might
then
just
wait.
be tempting. Yeah, I think there'll be better options later in the season to
Have you
play.
looked at fixtures ahead and have you thought about when are you going to play your assistant manager chip?
I haven't. I just know there's potential game weeks, I think around game week 33 and 37,
Hmm.
where I'm more likely to play the assistant manager chip. Um, or potentially my bench boost in one of those weeks. So I want to I want to see more fixtures. There's going to be much more information after the Carabao Cup that'll effectively also create some double game weeks later in the season. Some the team's European adventures might also impact some of that stuff. Some more FA Cup results or rounds would have happened by then, so we'll get a better indication of teams that are in a position to get a double game week. So I'm gonna probably sit tight for a while just to get more information, and then I guess once I have more information, probably decide on my chip strategy from there.
So I think you've convinced me not to play the chip. I'm probably going to go with my triple captain. But I've picked out
Yeah.
two other potential fixtures if someone wants to go really punty and really wants to get those bonus points.
Mm.
So you mentioned Spurs, and Spurs between game week 27 to 29, they play Manchester City, Bournemouth, and Fulham. And as of right now, all three of those teams sit 5 places above them. Now
Mm.
City's a hard fixture, but Spurs get good results against City.
Yeah, they've got a good
Yeah.
results against them, yeah,
You'd
especially at the
expect,
Etihad.
yeah, you'd expect apart from this season, you'd expect Spurs to beat a Bournemouth and a Fulham, and
Yes.
those are both winnable fixtures. So that's game week 27 to 29. The next set of fixtures, if you want to go Everton, maybe the time to go them is between game week 30 and 33, depending. So there's four fixtures there, and I think that's Liverpool, Arsenal, Forest, and City. Now I think guaranteed you want to
Wow.
get Forest in there. I just I think rather go Liverpool, Arsenal, Forest because Liverpool's the derby, anything can happen. Arsenal
Yeah.
seem to go to 10 men quite often, and Forest, they can
They've got
cause
a
a
loss
upset.
in them here and
Yeah,
there. Yeah, they've got a loss here and there,
I would not
yeah,
back
which is not good.
Everton against City. I don't know why.
Same.
I would feel like City would just go all over them in that game.
I think so too. I think the Spurs one's also a good option. The reason is Romero and Van de Ven back in training at the moment. So by the time game week 27 comes around, they'll have some games in their legs. Madison's back fit by then. I think Solanke should be back by around then as well. So Alex actually said before the Carabao Cup final, so probably around that game week 29. So they'll have some better options. Richarlison might be fitter. They'll probably have Udogi back as well, and a couple of more players to actually help the team a little bit more. So I think once that back four is settled again, I think you'll see results being churned out a little bit better. So I think targeting that fixture might not be a bad idea, unless
Okay,
they continue on their poor form. Then I wouldn't take that risk.
so
If they lose to Ipswich in 2 games from now, I would reconsider.
oof, yeah, so let's see. That's our chip strategy for now. Let's go back and solely focus on game week 24. We've spoken about the Liverpool players. Anybody like I guess some of the players that we didn't mention, Soboslai got a big haul as well. So if you can't afford the premiums, if you can't afford Gakpo, Salah,
Yeah.
Trent, we spoke about potentially Konate being on the cheaper side. I
Mm.
think if you can't afford Gakpo, chances are you're not going to afford Diaz. And then I think Soboslai
Correct.
is the next best to go for.
Yeah, but I think Szoboszlai is also such a risk in terms of minutes. But I mean, he looks like he's nailed down the spot again over Jones. I haven't seen Jones starting many
Yeah,
games
there's a lot of talk, even with
compared
amongst
to
the
him.
fans, talking about his work rate. He's the engine,
Yeah,
and now he's playing with a bit more confidence. And I think Trent is playing with a bit more confidence. So
yeah,
I think even Gakpo brings a lot more space, and I think Diaz not being all in all number 9, Szoboszlai is actually running through the middle a fair bit of
running
times as
past. Yeah,
well.
he's running past the
To
players,
be honest, even
which
Trent
is
is
what
running
you
past.
expected of him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
you'd expect Szoboszlai to be in the box more often than not, which he wasn't. I guess a lot under Klopp, and even at the start of slot, he's playing too deep. I think.
it's actually so hard to base Liverpool on what's going to happen because Ipswich was
Mm,
such a bad game to watch in the sense that they just had everything, all the possession, all
yeah.
the chances. It wasn't really an ideal
Yeah,
thing to watch
against
now.
better opposition in the next 2 games, we'll probably see. But I mean, they've shown it throughout the season, right? That they've got the ability to turn it on when they need it. So I think, to be honest, they're still the team to target. And I mean, if you want to load up and go 3 players of any team, it's Liverpool. Even though the fixtures are tough, I think you'll still see great results.
So going to a team that I've tripled up on, Everton, surprisingly, I have Pickford, India, and Mikalenko. Obviously, Calvin Lewin's out, but I don't see anybody else to really look at.
Nah, there's no one else. There's really no other player. I think if you want a punt of a player there, I think Doucouré is probably an option. The only reason is his history in the Premier League with him just popping up with goals and important goals for teams. He's got the ability to get into the box, and I mean he's the only effectively the midfielder that's probably gonna get involved in the attacking play. So if you really want to punt someone like Doucouré, I think um, you I mean lower your expectations. You're expecting 4 points there, but I mean he could get a couple of returns here and there just because he gets involved.
Okay, let's look at other players apart from Everton level players. Who are you looking at and targeting now?
So I'm targeting Brentford at the moment, and I'm also looking at Bournemouth. But I think I'm not allowed to look at Bournemouth as much because I've already got Semenyo in my team. But I mean, we did speak about Utara in last week, and I mean, before his hat trick, I was quite happy that we actually called that one to say that watch out for this guy. He's going to impact game, especially at his price, which is quite nice. But Wissa and Burmo, I think, are the two standout options at the moment because their fixtures are just so good coming up. I mean, Spurs, West Ham, Leicester, Everton, just their next four. I mean, you effectively want to double up on Wissa and Burmo at the moment. But I'll probably be tempted to go that way, but probably just default on Burmo only. Actually, think in some of these fixtures he might also be captain potential. To be honest, I know it's scary to say that because not captaining Salah or Palmer is frowned upon these days. But I think there's some exciting options there if you want to go heavy on Brentford. I think even potentially, I mean, the defense hasn't been great, but I think the fixtures look so good that if you go on one of the defenders, I think it might not be the worst, especially with them getting some players back fit at the moment.
Yeah, so if you look at my players, I've also wanted to bring in Visa, but I'm looking at post Game Week 24. So I've built myself up at 24, and now what
Yeah.
happens after 24? So you can see actually I have João Pedro, Cunha, and Hoyson from Bournemouth here, and I just took out Pedro for NDI, but I don't see myself with
Yeah,
NDI for long term. So
that's true.
post game week 24, obviously I can keep NDI for a few game weeks, but Cunha's fixtures turn around really nicely. I think post game week 26, Pedro, he's got Southampton coming up game week 26. So those two are the two strikers I'm looking at. Vissa a
Mm.
bit more, and I think even Jackson is one to consider. Although I'm going to stay away until the form improves.
Yeah, I
Then
think I think I'm done with Pedro as an individual, unless there's a double game week is the only time I'll consider bringing him in. But
he's primarily a bench player for me. Like he'll play
yeah,
Southampton for sure. Rest of the time he's on the bench. He's just such a cheap
okay.
enabler, and that
Mm.
might be able to get Mateta up to Jackson per se,
Yes,
and then
that makes
that,
sense.
or it might even fund if I take out Mbuemo. If I don't bring in Mbuemo and I bring in someone really cheap, and I
Mm.
take him out, and then I might be able to get Mateta up to Haaland if I make a few other
Oh,
moves
nice.
as well. So we'll see. But the other player to note is Hoyson. He's a centre back at Bournemouth. So Mikolenko is the other option. A lot of people have a player. A lot of people
Yeah.
have that. One you want to look at transferring out post game 24 because I am going to keep Pickford long term.
Yes,
That's the
I think it's
decision
worth
I
it.
made when I
It's worth it. Yeah.
wildcarded. So out comes Mikolenko. I don't want to have too many Everton players. So he's another option to look at. So
Yeah.
this is all post game 24.
I think if you've got extra funds, I think going Kirkage is probably a better
Yeah,
option because
yeah.
of his attacking impact. But I mean, if you don't have the funds, then um, I think Howson's a good option because I mean he also presents an aerial threat. He's got a couple of goals already this season, so wouldn't rule him out as an option as well.
And he looks like a solid centre back, in all honesty. He just looks
Yeah,
good. The
he's and I mean I don't think they're getting any centre backs fit from injury anytime soon, so his
Yeah,
place is quite guaranteed in this team.
I think he's actually got himself into the team, regardless
Yeah,
of what happens. Now let's wrap things up. Our last segment, looking at the fixtures coming up for this game week. We got fixtures Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Wednesday. So crazy break in between that. It seems like before we're
yeah.
gonna get our complete final bonus points and them changing it around.
In between, yeah, just randomly on a random Tuesday night, you'll see some bonus points being changed.
So you'll be staring at your phone for like a week, just being like, "Has my league updated yet? Can I send a message to the zine saying, suck it?"
Mm.
Um, but yeah, so I mean, looking at the fixtures, I'm actually excited for quite a few fixtures. Forest against Brighton. I don't know why. I just feel like Brighton might cause an upset. I think Forest might be on the decline. I think Brighton are a bit of a tricky team at times when they play.
Yeah, they just don't look good to me, Brighton at the moment. Their confidence, I think, is super, super low as well. So that's
Yeah,
quite unfortunate.
I'm looking forward to Bournemouth and Liverpool as well. Bournemouth
I think it'll be a
really in
good
form.
game. I think it
Yeah,
can be a good game, especially Liverpool away from home might be very interesting.
I mean Everton Leicester relegation battle. Ipswich
Newcastle Fulham
Southampton.
could be
Yeah,
decent. Yeah, Newcastle Fulham could be quite decent as well. I
I
mean,
don't know.
if
I
you
find
really want to.
if I watch Fulham and both Newcastle, I don't know. I find it a bit boring at times.
No, it is boring, but I'm saying the result could be quite interesting because both teams are kind of here and there at the moment. Right?
Yeah,
Newcastle, I guess, in better form. Fulham want to perform better, so might try and cause an upset there. Brentford Spurs, another decent game to watch as well. I think it'll be quite high scoring that one to be honest. Because
yeah.
Spurs are terrible defensively and Brentford aren't too great themselves either. So
And then the pick
that
of the
can be a
week
good one.
is Arsenal City.
Arsenal City, yeah.
Amazing. It's a big one in the title.
City can make a statement. Yeah, City I think can make a statement if they're able to get a result. Arsenal can make an even bigger statement to say that we're still in the title race. If they beat City, say that Liverpool, if you drop any points, we're still here. Because Arsenal typically against City over the past few seasons, they've always trying to get a result against them. Even if it was a draw, they tend to be happy with that result. But I think at this point in time, they've got no choice but to chase the win against City. But I think they Arsenal aren't convincing at the moment, and I'm surprised they haven't done more business in the transfer window
Yeah.
because they just need a couple of more players just to give them a little bit more of a kick. Without Saka there, they don't look
And
the
we're
same team.
already seeing what a good transfer window can do for you in City.
Mm,
Already they're looking
yeah,
more confident. They're looking um, like they back on the championship run.
yeah,
I think it was a big mistake for a lot of teams not to invest. I think Spurs needed. I think United needed. I
yeah.
think Arsenal needed.
29 days into the transfer window, and Spurs haven't signed an outfield player yet. So
It's ridiculous.
that in itself says that they're going to be in trouble, especially with the injuries coming and coming.
Looking at the Chelsea West Ham fixture, I just want to say, like, do you think Cole Palmer is going to get points in this game? Because a lot of people have sold him.
It's a London derby. It's a London derby. You never know.
Never
West
know.
Ham could turn up, but I expect Chelsea to get themselves back into form. I think in that
Yeah,
game.
to be honest,
I think
I expect Chelsea
I
to
expect them
win.
to thump. Plus, former manager also with Graham Potter there. I think it's going to be a statement result from Chelsea there. They need a result and they need a big result soon. So I expect them to turn up.
Okay, so that's our episode this week. Nice and short, but great to have you on. If anybody has any questions, please leave it below. And if anybody's still watching, leave a like, subscribe. If you're catching the non-live, please subscribe to the channel, share with people who are interested in FPL. It really helps us out. But catch you guys shortly, and good luck for the next game week.